Okay, today we're going to learn how to use AI to make visuals, and we're going to talk about Midjourney. I'm going to share my screen. So this is the website, right? You'll go to this website. It's midjourney.com. And then you can click down here on join the beta or sign in. I have an account. I pay for an account because you only get to create a certain number of images. So after you go to this website, what it'll have you do is get a Discord, download Discord. Okay, so Discord is this live streaming thread of content. So it's what gamers use. It's kind of like a Slack. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let's screen share the Discord. Actually, I'm just going to share my whole desktop. All right, so this is the website. I'm going to get rid of that because you don't need it, because once you do it, you will end up with Discord. So Discord, this is what Discord looks like. This is Chat GPT, and then this is Midjourney. I'm going to show you what the feed for Midjourney looks like. Midjourney is a series of requests that people are entering in, and then after they put in the prompt for what they want the image to look like, they receive the image that goes with it. So you can see right here, industrial furniture made of wood, metal, epoxy resin, and it'll give you 4 images, and then you can choose to U, which is upscale the image, or you can V, make a variation of 4 of that image. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So you are constantly seeing what the computer is producing based on what people are requesting. So the thing that I like about Midjourney is that you are actively learning how to get and produce better prompts by watching what other people are entering in, and you get the opportunity to copy this and use this as part of your prompt. So you can see here, these are some of the prompts that these people are using, and these are part of the pictures and images that they're creating. So what I like to do is create images that look like something I can use for my design business. So we're going to come over here and I'm going to show you images that I have created in Midjourney so that you can kind of see what the capacity for what it can do looks like. I have a slow computer. Very, very slow computer. Hang on, I'm pulling this from Dropbox, so it's going to take a second. So you'll see that these are just constantly popping up. So as people send in a request for what they're looking for to create, it's constantly coming in as a stream. So your request might even disappear into this thread, and you might have to, so a realistic image of a turntable, sophisticated living room, high-end furniture, 1960s vinyls, cinema lighting, cinematography. And then this is what they're getting. So let me just show you how to communicate with this program so that you can start to get the things that you want. Because you're probably thinking in your head, how do I create what I want? Because I'm either in design or I'm in the creative arts. Like, how can I get types of images like I want? So let's go over some of the ground rules. You need to lead with about 14 details. And those details are like, pick a style that's like cinematography. So if you want to have like a, you have to pick someone who has a really large library of content. The larger the library, the more likely you're going to get exactly what you want. So slim errands, restoration hardware. If you pick kind of like a genre and a type of lighting, if it's bright and light and all that kind of stuff, then you will get something kind of in that realm. You're still just going to get what the computer is going to produce for you. You don't have full and total control over it. So number one, you really need to pick a good genre. You need to pick something. If you want it to be, you'll see I did Star Wars. If you want Art Deco, if you want Hawaiian interior, right? You need a genre that has a lot of visual content on the internet because that's what it's pulling from. You have to select your colors. Tell it what your limited color palette is. I'd say pick 3 colors. If you say colorful, it will be every color of the rainbow. And it'll be like every color of the rainbow everywhere. It doesn't understand maximalized design. So you kind of don't really want to dig into that unless you have a library of someone who has a extensive collection of maximalized look and aesthetic, and that's the person you're going to lean into for what you want to say. So you need to reference an aesthetic or a style. So you can do everything from Japandi, Scandinavian, dark academia to Hamptons, right? But then you can also pick the year. So if you want to say 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, why is this fun and interesting? Well, you could do like a whole catalog of blog posts that talk about, how you feel like some of the 60s interiors reflecting what was happening in 2023 and like what were some of the political context or what were some of the influences that you feel like leaned into that? And like, why is it that the 90s and the 70s were similar, but not in the same way, right? You could just start to put together content that would be very interesting and compelling, and you'd have great visuals to go along with it that would be fun and interesting to work with. So number 4, if you want wallpaper, you need to say it. You need to say, I like wallpaper. What does the wallpaper look like? What do your accessories kind of look and feel like? So you need to pick 2 or 3 things that are your accessories, and you need to be consistent with it. So if you want to have like large Italian artwork, if you want to have oversized white light fixtures, whatever your accessories are, you need to include 2 or 3. So once again, 2 or 3 colors, 2 or 3 accessories or textures that you want to see in there. For example, one of the easiest accessories that I found is to do flora and fauna. And then you can say something like peacocks. If you want peacocks, parrots, if you want parrots, or flamingos, if you want flamingos, right? These just kind of give you these genres and aesthetics that you can work with. And honestly, you're going to get people with distorted faces. You're going to have missing fingers. They like to make the hand look like all of the digits are about this length. So things are kind of going to be kind of strange about it. You need to include, if it's a kitchen and it has appliances, anything that's technology, you need to hone in on what that look and style is. Because if you say you want like 60s media cabinet, it's going to give you 60s style product in it. If you want like a vintage looking kitchen with old appliances, you're going to get really old. It might be 1908 old, or it might be, 60s old, 70s old, and then it may give you a really cheesy look to go along with it. And I'll show you how that works. You will want to describe the flooring, describe the windows. What are the windows shaped? How big are they? What is your ceiling height like? What is the lighting and what is outside of the windows that you're wanting the image to look like? And then you want to reference like the depth of the rendering and the image quality. So words like extremely detailed and complex, hyper realistic, 4K, reference the software and the quality of the images that are created by that software. And then that way you'll get that level of image. If you don't, you won't, right? So one of the things I like to reference is a type of camera and a type of camera lens. And if I reference those 2 things, I tend to get more photorealistic images. And I also have to say sharp. You can give it a focal lens and it will actually recreate a focal lens. So you have like a foggy background with like a really crisp center. And then image ratio. Do you want something just like you're working on a Canva file? I want something that's this by this ratio. Do I want square? Do I want vertical? You have to tell it that so that it will use that format for the image. And then once again, if you can use a cinematic style, somebody who's a film director, then you will kind of recreate that look and feel. It'll have like, if it's grainy, you can say if you want it to be a film image. Okay. So you have to think a little bit more complex when you are using these programs to execute and get what you want. If you just use 2 or 3 reference points, you'll get something, but you may not have as much control over it. And when you start to learn that you can get good control over the program, it's actually very fun and very interesting. So let's look at what I was creating with it. So one thing I have learned is that I can't tell its skin tone and ethnicity. If I ask for people of diversity, it won't understand. So it's just best to pick a famous person and then ask for there to be a person sitting in the room and use that famous person. So let's go over some of these. So if you've been following me on social media, you'll see that I use a lot of these like I like to use Wes Anderson as my aesthetic because he's got so much content. He's got such a huge library of visual images that the program can pull from that usually I can start to get somewhere quickly by saying, I want his style. It's usually 2 people just kind of standing with like a solemnness about them. They're not like enthusiastic and ecstatic, but they're also kind of not dead on the inside. I don't know how else you would describe it, except I like to use Wes Anderson as my cinematic inspiration for my images. You could use somebody like Annie Leibovitz. You could use the Slim Aarons. There's so many places that you can go with these images. So why I like Midjourney is that you can watch what someone else posts. So this is done in Dutch. And it's written in Dutch and it covers what it's looking for. So then I took it and put it in ChatGPT and asked it to translate it for me. So then I understood what each one of these prompts were. And then I understood how I wanted to reuse them. And I started leaving out certain words and adding words in to kind of create specific looks. So you can see the faces are a little bit funny. The hands are real weird. So one of the things that's good is to ask for them to have gloves. Maybe they're wearing a hat and sunglasses. Throw some sunglasses on these people to help yourself get out of having creepy eyes and faces. You can ask for fashion photography. You can ask for a fashion brand's specific look. So maybe you want kind of like what would like an Hermes rodeo or you know, I have one in here. It's Wes Anderson Circus. So you can start to see that there's a lot of things that you can do. So you'll get a 4 image concept. Okay. Remember how we showed it had a U, 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom of the image in the Discord link. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your first image produced and it's going to have the option to upscale either image 1, 2, 3, or 4. And what that means is that you'll get a better quality image. These are just, they're fast images. And then if you go V1, V2, V3, or V4, it'll give you a variation of 4 new images that look like whichever one of the 4 you choose. Okay, so this would be V1, 2, 3, and 4, right? You got the order down. And then upscaling means higher quality, bigger image, and V means you're going to get a variation. And all you have to do is click it, and then like that one's highlighted blue right here or purple. That one is being created and is further down in the thread. Okay, see how that's thread just keeps going forever. So there's the upscale of that image. Okay, so let's look at these. So what I was doing over here is I was creating these concepts that I wanted that look like interior design clients sitting in on a presentation at a table with champagne, once again, flora and fauna. And then I asked, like, what does the designer's life look like, right? But I gave it all the requirements. I gave it what color I wanted, what colors I wanted the tones to be in, what kind of level of lighting, what kind of level of detail, and what kind of camera lens I wanted and what image orientation that I wanted. I wanted squares. So then it would produce for me multiples of it. So you luxury, high-end velvet wallpapers, woven rugs, you can just kind of start to use the words that you want to create the space. And if you want to see diversity in your people, you need to choose celebrities that have a history, like a historical index of content and images, so that the person and the people that you get in your images have diversity. The program doesn't understand the difference between skin tones. Yet. It might in the future, but right now you just aren't going to get these really beautiful people without referencing someone of diversity as the inspiration for the image. So here we go. So here I said, it's so funny because I was like, okay, give me like if Wes Anderson was an interior designer, and then of course they give me a guy that looks like Wes Anderson. So you just sort of get to play around with what you want it to create. Don't expect it to look super perfect. This is supposed to be inspirational. These are supposed to be stories. These are supposed to be thoughts, right? These are supposed to be things you're tapping into as the designer and using in your social media and Pinterest and like for your blogs. Okay. So once again, I was trying to come up with some concept because I'm working on a house right now, and you can kind of see, I was like, okay, what if I, want you to create something that looks like a Restoration Hardware style cabin, 2 stories, A-frame windows. And this is what I got. It's a little dark. Interiors, more of this aesthetic, right? It's got a definitive aesthetic of kind of like a French or Louis XIV style. And it's because most of the previous requests on the thread I was on was looking for what they would say was like Rococo interiors. And so the program just assumed everybody wanted Rococo interiors. Like a person who followed up after I did this cabin in my same thread. In the same thread, if someone immediately after me requests a all white interior with colorful finishes, they're going to get an A-frame, tall second floor windows with a loft size space, because what you're seeing in the thread is going to show up in some capacity in your image until you've fed it more information. So if you're not on your 8th or 9th request, you're probably still going to be getting stuff that's influenced by what someone else has been requesting prior to you being there. Because these are all public, they're running in front of you, you're seeing them being drawn live, right? So I asked for something. So I moved on from Wes Anderson and I said, I want Slim Aarons, and I still want my teal, pink, and gold, because these are my brand colors. And I need stuff that's got color and is fun and interesting. I'm so tired of just ordinary everyday photographs of spaces. I want to feel inspired whenever I look at the stuff that I want to put on my social media. I want some things that are fun and dramatic. And like I said, I put on there about like, I want fruit in my pictures, like exotic fruit and plants and women in hats near a poolside. And so this is what it kind of looks like. So Wes Anderson colors, blues, gold, and pink, a kitchen design, and Tim Walker still. Gucci, and then it has Gucci glasses, exotic fruit. It has folk scene, and this is all, once again, this was still the Dutch versions before I translate it. Cinematic lighting, soft lighting. A lot of people like soft box lighting, which is a type of photography lighting. And then this Hasselblad camera seems to be like the gold standard for getting a higher quality image. And this is what your image will look like at first once it starts producing it. And then after, you can see it says 31% right here, it will eventually get to 100%. And you end up with pictures like this. Like, look at this weird bird thing with the tassels and the fringe. But I mean, I kind of like it. It's like so weird. And then in that variation, it's just different things. What does a designer's desk look like, right? If it was and I gave it all the same requirements. So the more I tap into what my requirements are, I'm able to produce multiples of images that have the same aesthetic, same, vibe. Like I love this quirky pink computer and this woman with this turquoise on her face. I mean, I can't even look at these guys. I mean, they're just so pretty. So you can see, okay, here. So once again, you have up level 1, 2, 3, or 4. So what it did is I chose number 2, which is this one here. And I asked to up level 4. And then what happens is it just goes back and produces a more clear image. And it's going to be about like this big on your screen. And I've just been screen shooting them. There might be a better way to save these images, but I've just been screen shooting them for my records because I'm going through this pretty quick. Look at these. So then I was like, well, what if it's more like a Slim Errands by a pool kind of look and feel? And this is more of what I was getting. I guess people were looking for like Easter eggs, right? Basket full of colorful Easter eggs when I was doing my thread. And so I started getting a lot of stuff that was referencing Easter, which makes a lot of sense because this was being made 2 weeks before Easter. Once again, like brand of clothes, I did one you'll see in here later where I asked for Missoni style patterns and fabrics and textiles. And since Missoni is big enough and has a larger enough record, I was able to start to capture some really dynamic patterns. So here is someone else's thread. I don't know who they referenced to get this like older gentleman, but look at how dramatic his background is. They were using a very similar prompt as me, Wes Anderson colors blue, gold, and yellow, Slim Aaron scene and Tim Walker style, Gucci sunglasses, hat with exotic fruits, green gemstones, pheasants, flowers, folklore, flower motifs, velvet gloves, lush exotic patterns, cinematic lighting, studio lighting, soft lighting. So what you're doing is you're going to copy all of this and you're going to save it. You're going to save this prompt somewhere on your computer so that you're just altering your prompt that works best for you and gets your look over and over again. And then this will help you to just produce gobs of images. But look at this. Isn't that great? With these, where does he ask for the dogs? Because he got the dogs. I don't see it. I thought this was like maybe a William Wegman, but I don't see it. So you can see how pretty those are. Once again, me doing interiors. I thought this one was cool. Venice in a Desert by Wes Anderson. Low saturation, hyper realistic 4K. So this is what the Venice buildings would look like in a desert. This is a guy who was apparently obsessed with creating like squid that lived inside of a house. But I thought these images were just, I don't even know how they got there, but they had a nautical feel to them. They had the colors and they had these like strange squids doing stuff. So you can see, I open the door and I see a romantic space squid waiting for me on a landing in the style of Wes Anderson. So we are all flooding the thread the same time with similar requests, looking for similar looks and aesthetics. And so they are going to parlay over to each other. You are going to see if someone's asking for this, they're using your prompt because you can take someone else's prompt and use it, that you're going to get similar concepts and similar content. This is obviously an upscaled version of the image, but once again, just like this weird nautical, but beautiful space. These are fun and interesting. I think these posters are fantastic. I think that these would be fun to use in a space to actually print and put in picture frames personally. You could take and do a mock-up of your client's pets. I think they'd be cool. This is someone's prompt, but they've up-leveled a version. And since they've up-leveled the version, I don't have the original prompt, but I mean, look at this one. I think this one's pretty cool. This is Rococo Interiors by Wes Anderson. Very beautiful. This is the Rococo Rodeo by Wes Anderson. Once again, I just like the Wes Anderson aesthetic. So I wanted to I can search in Discord up here. You can see over here on the right. I can search by name. So I can search for everybody who uses the Hasselblad camera. I can search for every image that was produced using a Wes Anderson prompt. I can search for anything created by a person. So if I'm following someone, I notice I like all their images. I can search all of their images and then look at all of their prompts and then research. This is why I like this a little bit better than DALL-E, because DALL-E is ChatGPT's visual program. You don't get to learn. I wouldn't know about cinematography, formatting and film grain and all that kind of stuff if I wasn't already watching other people and then stealing that information and reusing it. So you really want to see, what are the professional photographers on here using? What are the professional video gamers on here using? To kind of get into these looks and styles, and you can be inspired by other people by using this program. So that's why I'm like, guys, this would be so fun for you. Look at that. Like, how quirky and weird and beautiful. Just beautiful. And I think you could use these things in your social media and talk about like what a delight it would be to create a child's room in these looks and aesthetics. And you can see that this is cinematic realism, live action, wide shot, Rococo rodeo. And then the format is 3:2. So it's 3 wide by 2 tall. So you get a rectangle. And you can see here, you know, you could do something fun, like you could have a Western scene, but you could have it done in like tropical colors with tropical plants around it. You can combine two styles that you may have never ever thought about doing and create things that are quite stunning and interesting, right? And sometimes you can get a little too far into it. Like I asked for a stack of books with a hat, sunglasses, and a bird. And that's what I got, right? And then I said, you know, my requirements, color, look, and scheme. Just kind of more of that luxe look, right? I kept asking, I want it to be luxury. I want it to be beautiful. So here we go. My first dig into what does slim errands look like? And you can kind of see my slim errands wasn't telling it. I was just trying to do like poolside slim errands and the blues and the pinks and the golds. And I just expected to get these beautiful, like Malfi Coast looking poolsides, but with like something that felt interior designy about it. And I couldn't get it. And honestly, I didn't really spend a lot of time on it because I was busy and I should be doing something else. But these were starters. It gives me this like great little cool poolside as I got a little bit deeper in, changed up the camera use, the lenses, the color, and what I was requesting. I started to get a little bit better quality versions. You can see here, that's what the up level. So when you get your first version in that quad of 4, you're going to get this quality. Once you up level it, you'll get that quality, just a little bit stronger, clearer version of the image. Once again, slim errands, interiors, greens and whites, right? And this is quickly and fast what I got. And then I was like, what if I ask for Missoni patterns and Missoni textiles? And this is me trying to get images of an iPad because of my iPad drawing program. And so I started asking for like interiors with Missoni textiles, and that's what I got. Then I got into this and I was like, what if I had like an Art Deco desk scene? Once again, my colors that I wanted, but I want it to be like a desk in a room with an arched window. And I started getting some kind of fun, interesting portal windows. And then I was like, what if it was Star Wars, right? What would a Star Wars interior look like if it was like a living room and these like looks and aesthetics, right? So these are my 60s interiors with round, I asked for arched windows, round windows. And this is some of the look that I got, 60s style, and gave me these kinds of looks and vibes. Then I asked for like an Iris Arpfel kind of interior, dramatic, luxury portrait of a woman in a chair. Okay. Then I was like, I got nothing else to do. I'm going Star Wars interiors. And then this is what it started creating for me with the concept of what if it was a Star Wars style interior for a living room. Real it's kind of fun and I like it. Here are some more images. And the thing to me is in my social media, I think these types of images will help me stand out and set me apart from someone else who's just posting what they find on Pinterest. And that's what's fun is that this is all new content that I can place. You can also, if you wanted to have like a cool Zoom background and you wanted to change it out, you could use these really cool interiors. I did a green screen video using one of these cool interiors behind me, and it looked really cool. It's kind of funky. As interior designers, we don't have to be typical, stuffy, and boring. So still, once again, kind of iris art fell. I was I took out a couple of words in my prompt and you can kind of see how my visual started to change, but I had also started loading it with the Art Deco and Star Wars concept, and that Rococo look started to fall away. So then I was like, what would Jackie Onassis look like in an 80s Hamptons, right? With striped textiles and this, and it gave me a ton of Roman shades. So look at all these balloon valances. Oh yeah, give it to me, baby. This is all balloon valances. Um, you know, I asked for Michelle Obama in a Mexican hacienda with really like luxury, elaborate, beautiful things around her. And this is kind of the genre that I got. I was trying to see if I could play around with the year and 60s style, 70s style, 80s style, 90s style. Then I started asking for some Hawaii interiors, like what would a Hawaiian interior look like? And oof, I can't. These are rough. I was like, are these retirement homes? Like, what is happening here? And then I asked for Annie Leibovitz style. So this is a big change in the quality of the audience, right? Because what I did is I went from the Wes Anderson front and focal, balanced sort of like solemn faced people to these Annie Leibovitz where they're like turned. So just by saying Annie Leibovitz, I ended up with these different kinds of images. Then I was like, screw it. I just want dog portraits for a hot minute because this just makes me so happy. And so I was playing around with it. I was like, give me a blue and gold interior with William Wegman style dogs. And I don't think it quite got me, but this is some of the stuff I got. And then I stole this from someone else because they were producing these. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yes. Look at that. I'm dead. It's like so good. I mean, oh, once again, going back in, playing around. Do I want Missoni patterns? What happens if I, ask for interiors with like Missoni patterns? And since I had been asking for some mid-century modern stuff, some 60s, some curved stuff in the Star Wars, it really started to kind of mess with my aesthetic. And so I end up with like a definitive shift in the look of the images that I was getting, but I definitely was stealing other people's images. Okay, this was me once again. What would a Western town look like in certain colors? I just was curious. What would a Mexican and home interior with arched windows with blue and white tile and saltillo floors look like? And this is how it interpreted that concept. You can kind of see how this one looks. And then this is a different prompt. So this one, a person is discussing that they want this to be Pierre Cardin, Rotunda in a like high-end palace. 60 style fashion model and photography wearing sunglasses, focal length. This one had a focal length where they wanted the background to blur and they wanted this very up close picture. So you can also tell it sort of where to crop the image if you get into it a little bit further. And I can share the graphic that shows you what the crops are. Still playing around with it. Just loved these. I thought these turned out really fun for like the idea of design, right? Just designing in these like magical spaces, and what like these tables would look like. So let's do a quick image. And now that you understand how you request, get impacts on what you're going to get. So we're going to jump to present down here on the bottom. What you do is you come into the Midjourney room. You're going to want to read up on some of these, like on how to use it. So then you can go into a newcomer room and look at the threads, whatever is being produced in that thread. And then you can join in, right? So we're going to come down in here as far as we can. And then you're going to hit / imagine. And this is your prompt. You cannot use anything else. You do not have a space. You can't go back and correct it. It will not work. So you do imagine. Okay, so that's my prompt. See how it recognized, and it's like, okay, you have a prompt. I'm going to go into my notes. I keep a running ledger of images that I like. Look at these Obama ones. Oh, I can't. They're so cool. Look at that with little Mickey Mouse hats. This one, let's see. So this one, they're using a different photographer, a different artist, and they are pushwinger style, many people, geometric surrealism, and then they have colors. They talk about slim air and scenes, Hasselblad camera again, epic composition, optical fiber, glamorous, right? So then you can hit, oops, it wants it in the box. Okay, so now that I am, so you have to do this exactly. Like you can't even go back and delete a space. If you go back and delete a space, you'll stop the prompt. You have to do it exactly that / imagine, no space. Then it'll give you prompt. Then in that prompt box, you will load in your information. So we're going to sit up here and watch this so you can kind of see how it's produced. It's giving me waiting to start. We're going to do this live. The amount of time it actually takes so that you can get a look and feel for what this will be like for you. We're at 0%, but it is doing a fast rendering. So you can start to see what's being created. And now it just went all the way to the bottom. It's because it's already done. Okay, so this is what we got. So you have like groups of people. People look a little rough. This guy doesn't have a full head. This is pretty cool. So then what you would do is you could open it in the browser, or you can go back to it and say, you know, I like, let's get an up level of 4, and let's get a variation on 3. Okay, so now I have asked it to up level 4, which is this image, to make this one look a little bit more realistic. And then up here, variation on number 3. Oops, sorry, 3. So I'm going to get 4 versions of this one to look at. So you see that just showed up right here, upscaling the images as I go down my thread. So this is image 3 being giving me variations. And then I could pick one of these that I like, and it would, I can up level. So which one do we want to do? Do you want to do 2? Let's just do 2. 2 is going to get up leveled. You can see here, my request for an upscaling is taking a little bit longer than creating a variation, because that initial fast drawing is going to be done quickly. And it's not as high quality or resolution, but when you upscale, you get that better, higher quality image from it. Okay, let's see what happens. So this is, there we go. So you just sort of have to scroll up, scroll down to look for things. So as we come down here, this is the final on that one image. And then I just screenshot it to save it if I want to save it. And then up here, you can see this one's still running. And if you lose, like say you get into a thread and there's just a ton of people in it and they are just prompting and prompting and prompting, and there's just like a bunch of images coming through, you can come up here to search, and then you can search for the mention of your username. So that's my username. So over here in this right-hand column, in case you're like losing your images that you created, they'll show up over here if you search for yourself. So you can find your images easily in the thread. In fact, if you're in any of the threads, it's searching all of the threads for your work, and you can kind of see what you end up with. So here's this quirky space and this aesthetic and this style. So if you have that art history degree, this is the time to put that to work, or you took a couple of those classes, because if you can reference a really good photographer or an artist, you will create images that coincide with that. But remember, you need to look at and apply those like 14 principles. You need to say, how tall is the space? Is it outdoors? What's the lighting like? What's the format of the image that you want? Are there people in it? Where are the people? How many people? What are the people wearing? And then what like level do you want it to be? Do you want it to be super high end, or do you want it to be, you know, mom and pop in a diner, in like suits from the 60s, right? So you have to give it all of that information to get it to work. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to use Midjourney. We do have a podcast on this on designer discussions. And if you have any other questions, just follow me on Design Appy. You can ask me there and I can put together more content for you guys.